Okay.
We're all set.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting of the agenda for the, or the EDC to order. And Maria, if you would, roll call, please.
Sherry Boye,
Present.
James Ellis,
Present.
Stephen Erman,
Present.
Madeline Fleury. Here. Archie McKee,
Here.
Nate Manette.
Here.
And we have a vacant seat. Also present Jeremy Evans and Maria Bourgeois.
Thank you. Now to the agenda. Is there anything to add to the agenda or to strike? There being none, we'll move on to public comment. Public comment. Anything there? Noting none, we'll move on to number 4, approval of the previous meeting minutes. The meeting of January the 11th, 2023. Copy of those minutes you have received by email with the call to this meeting. Are there any additions, deletions, or subtractions that have to be made to the EDC meeting of January 11th, 2023? Copy of whose minutes you have. If not, we'll accept a motion to approve those minutes of January the 11th.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Steve,
Second.
second by Archie. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of January the 11th, 2023, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Disapproval, nay? Fine. Committee reports, if there's nothing different than what was proposed at the earlier meeting, we can go on from there, unless you have a specific report for your committee. Hearing none, then we'll move on to number 6.
Check quick that Donna Cassane has joined the meeting, Franklin County Manager.
Hi, Donna.
Hi.
Hey. Treasurer's report, Jeremy.
Okay, my treasurer's report for the EDC. 2 things I'll highlight. One is we still haven't been approved yet with the EDC to invest in Treasury Direct, but we all know that Paul is working on that. So there's nothing, you don't see that reflected yet because we haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
The other thing I will point out is that this is a pretty busy month of income and expenses, and a lot of it was related to the 2018 revitalization grants for Saranac Lake and Tupper. We had several projects that finished, and so we were both getting reimbursement from the state and reimbursing owners. And so that's why you see a higher than usual income and higher than usual expense.
And I might point out with respect to that particular item on the reimbursements and grant receipts, you got a copy of that report. And it's very impressive when you realize what our folks have done and what we've been involved in developing these Main Street services. So, that being said, any questions for the treasurer's report?
I've got a couple of questions. I'm looking at the balance sheet compared to the previous year, and I'm focusing in on assets, specifically other current assets, allowance for loans receivable. And I see that number is the same this year as it was last year. And I just wonder why that is. And without Paul being here, I don't know if he is done working with the auditors and making adjustments to what he's comfortable with. Also, Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just say he is working on that exact line item and trying to make sure that that's accurate. I don't know why it's the same between year over year, but I know that those specific lines he's been looking at adjusting. So I'll have him, he explained it, I think, last meeting. I don't remember how much detail he went into, but I'll have him provide an explanation.
Okay, also a little further down on the same report, under other assets, line 1500, loan receivable. The figure there is $1,568,688. And I looked on another report that we had, which was our loan program report. And the principal balance listed for all the loans we have is $1,375,000 and change. And there's like a $200,000 difference, and I'm just curious as to what that is.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why there's difference. I don't know the answer to that. I know Paul and Russ actually met last week to reconcile the different ways we track those loan payments. And so I know they've been working on that, but I'll get an answer to that also.
Some of the extra income too was because ASAP PAC paid off their final loan with us.
It could be related to that. Yep.
Very
Good
good.
questions.
Any other questions?
Yep, down under liabilities on the same page, page 1. I'm looking at other current liabilities, deferred revenue, 2210-00. We've got a significant difference from 2023 to 2022, like almost $765,000.
That might have to do with the tourism monies because they would have gone back last January, right?
You're
That
100%
amount
right. It's
Yep,
just
just
about that
about that
amount.
Because it was about,
Okay.
About 725, something like that.
I'll get the actual explanation, but I'm pretty sure
Maria.
that Maria's.
Good catches.
Any other questions?
No other dumb questions.
No, fine, thank you. I'm glad you're doing the questioning,
Sure.
Archie. It's great.
Sharp eyes.
No.
the only other comment is the same I made on the other meeting to add in the month to month.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Can we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I'll make the motion, and because we're also showing a profit in the LDC on the profit and loss.
Okay.
It's always nice to have a black number
Yep,
That's true.
you're
I'll
right.
second
at
the
the bottom of
motion.
your profit and loss.
Motion seconded by Steve Irwin. Further questions? There being none, we'll assume the question's moved. All those in favor of accepting the treasurer's report as given, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? The ayes have it. CEO report, Jeremy.
Okay, I have three items for CEO report. The first is a downtown Malone strategic plan. You know, we've been working on this project for a while and we're getting very close to its conclusion. I just wanted to point out a couple things related to it. We recently submitted a draft to Department of State because they're the agency that provided the funding for it. And want to express my appreciation for Rachel and Kelly for helping us get to this point. Rachel has been, as you know, she's just a great project manager and she's been just keeping us on task, getting things done, being the coordinator between Department of State and the village, and she set a target deadline for us to meet, and I think we hit it. And Kelly's been helping in a different way. I mean, I know everybody in the North Country in this business, and quite frankly, she knows more about downtown revitalization than anybody I know.
Yeah, great.
So we have her as our marketing professional, but we are making sure we use her for this downtown revitalization study. So she's been super helpful on writing some aspects of it. And she'll be putting together the final document and things like that. So it's been a great team. I just wanted, and Maria should have was going to pass them out, but I just wanted to point out that we're doing our last open house related to this project. We just got approval from the state
It's on the
today.
last.
So we're going to, it's an open house next Thursday from 5 to 7. It's kind of a walk-in kind of open house. It's not like there's going to be a presentation. And the purpose is to get feedback from downtown and community stakeholders about the draft priority projects. So we're really excited to hold that. And then by the end of March, this whole thing will be wrapped up with a final plan that'll be released. So
Great.
that was number one. Number two, we are very close to wrapping up the CARES grant. You know, all the money has been distributed to grantees. All of the documentation has been received for the that we're required to get reimbursement for. So we got I think it was a approval of a 1-month extension that Donna has
60
requested.
days, 60 days, Jeremy.
Okay, well, that's more than we need, but 60-day extension just to finalize the paperwork. We've learned, so we're getting very close on that, thank goodness. Learned a lot about it, and we have ideas, and we've been bringing Rachel into the conversation too about how to improve our administration of these types of funds that we want to incorporate. Because as you know, we've talked about it before, but one of the priorities we have and that the county has is to go seek microenterprise grant funds,
Right.
which are very similar to these. And so that we're gearing up for that and trying to incorporate what we've learned, the good and the bad we've learned from previous experiences, so that this time around it's better. So we're talking weekly as a group on that and coming up with a plan and a timeline draft to just kind of share with the board and with the legislature about what we're thinking for that. So that's number two. Third, this is also something that I wanted to share. Hopefully everybody's got it, is at the top of it says FC EDC goals. And we've talked briefly about our overall goals. Those are at the top: strong economic development climate, vibrant entrepreneurial culture, flourishing downtowns and main streets, resilient industries, and this language,
I have no.
but I want to, for now, I call it sustainably managed EDO, economic development organization. So what we've been doing, and our hope is that over the next month, working with the committees, we've talked about this before, but once now we get the committees ready, we can meet with the staff, the appropriate staff and the committees, and talk about some of the objectives and activities we have within each of these goals that we want to commit to that will become our 2023 plan. And my hope and goal is that at our March meeting, we have a lot going on. We need to approve the audit. We need to approve our annual report on accomplishments. I also want to present and have approved a 2023 plan that kind of lays out our major goals and objectives for the year. In the meantime, working with our team, we identified a number of like highest, this isn't everything we're doing, but our highest level objectives that we want to achieve between the first of the year and the end of March. And they're listed here under objectives. So we want to look at our facilities. While we're doing that, we've had some conversations about that. Close out the CARES Act grant. We just talked about that. Find sustainable funding to support entrepreneurs and small businesses. That's the microenterprise grant, but not necessarily limited to the microenterprise grant. We want to improve our self-sufficiency, financial self-sufficiency for the carry. We want to get the strategic plan that we just talked about done on time and get reimbursed for it. We want to get establish a new contract for economic development services with Franklin County. Kelly and I are finalizing a marketing plan for 2023. We want to make sure that we're doing everything we can with our meetings, with our reporting, with our audit, with the posting of minutes and everything like that. So make sure that we are a transparent, fundamentally sound organization. And then we also want to close out our 2018 New York Main Street grant.
Good.
So those are what we identified as a team. Again, not the only things we're working on, but those highest level things that we want to achieve work towards between the 1st of January and the end of March. And what my plan to do with the team is talk about these every week, see how we're doing. And each of these has very like specific tasks related to them that we've identified. But for the board's purposes, we want to keep it at this level of objectives we're trying to achieve. And hopefully, once we have an annual report, these objectives will align with our annual report. So we kind of know where we're going for the whole year, but then we break it down into quarterly segments and kind of map out our year and what we're going to do. So let me give an example. For quarter one, the goal is to get ourselves organized, come up with a plan, get everybody on board, both our board and the legislature on our approach, and apply for a microenterprise grant. But then that takes a while to get through the system. And if we get approved, then there's that next step of kind of getting interest and things like that. So just to kind of break it down into manageable parts, the goal right now is just to apply.
Right.
And then in subsequent quarters, we would identify those next big tasks related to managing that grant, presuming we got it. So every quarter, as a staff exercise, we're going to be looking at these things, seeing how we're doing. And then as the next quarter is coming, we're going to identify the next list of quarter two objectives that will help us stay on target with our annual priorities. So it's not a totally new thing, but we're really trying to upgrade our approach to this year. So it's a work in progress, but I just wanted to update the board.
Good.
Good, thank you. I like
I've got-
the, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know if this is appropriate to ask here or under 8 or 9, new or old businesses, but in referring to number 6 here, execute new contract with Franklin County. I'm just curious, seem to have both parties here at the present time. What is occurring to accomplish that?
Well, and I want to jump off of what you just said, because that was going to be my question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say your question. You can have it.
No, and please add anything that I may have missed. I guess the question is how does the county get feedback from us as to what our needs may be, so that there would be a need to discuss, among other things, a multi-year contract. I mean, to do this on an annual basis is brand new to both the county and us too. No blame here, nobody's complaining. But it's not a good way to do business. And if we had, considering all the things we want to do, if we had a number that we could work with and know that is budgeted for us each year, then it gives us a chance, if we need to go on out and get extra help or to contract with another group on something very promising, it would be good for us to know. And that's really the only caveat I have, because I think we're not in executive session, and I'm not gonna put any numbers there, but I do think that we should really talk about two things: a multi-year contract and an amount that we can deal with each of those years. That's all.
So would you like me to respond?
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
So first of
I'll tell you
all,
what you can respond to that would make me very happy, but I
well, no,
won't do
I
that.
would never, first of all, I'm not a county legislator, so I certainly do not have the authority, nor do I vote in the meetings, right? They have full authority. With that said, I am the budget officer, and I think I've done a very good job under their leadership to bring the counties from 2015 to where we are today.
True.
Yes.
You talked about talking about what your needs are, and I would like that to be reciprocated. And we have an open and honest conversation about what our needs are as well. Because there seems to be this, who's the customer, right? And so who is the customer? When we contract with an entity and pay for that, are we the customer, or should we think you are the customer? And I guess I just would like to talk about that at some point. Who is the customer? And how do we have a engaging, regular conversation? So one, I would prefer that this not happen again. I did start this discussion in June of last year that the contract was expiring, and followed up again on that, as well as the lease here expired September 30th. So, what action's going to be taken when those conversations happen? Because here we are in February and we're still having the conversation, when for me, it should be resolved before things get expired. So I value the work that is done. I value, the land bank as an example. We worked together on the application. I got samples of the bylaws and got those together to disseminate. So everybody had a piece of that. It worked out well, right? The AESD. So we can count that as a success and probably look at that as a model of how we move forward. And that is, what's this going to look like? What kind of meetings do we have? So I think there needs to be really some discussion about how to do what's in the best interest of Franklin County. We all want that. And how do we do that together? And look at it as a partnership, and not that I've been told that the EDC is our customer. And so I'm just trying to figure out how we do business, thinking that it's not this competition, right, as to who should do what, but shouldn't we just do this together and lay out a plan in advance? So, moving forward, you don't wait until the contract is we need to have those conversations in advance, I guess, as a group. Figure out how we do that.
Yes, and first, I think the first question is, I never had it, I personally have no problems with determining who the customer is. It's the people of Franklin County,
Yeah,
with both of us working together to satisfy that customer.
you're 100% right, but I've been told that the agencies we contract with are the county's customer. And you hit it. It is the people of Franklin County.
Yeah, and I do think though, when you look at it, Donna, you're looking at people or procedures which beg the question. Now, you can't do anything about social services. It's there and we have to do it. And that's not a question of sitting there saying, well, maybe if we did it this way, if we did it that way. There's a certain set requirement that nobody argues that from our point of view. And I don't think it's anything that we should argue about because it's what you have to do. We know that. But I do think that the whole idea of where we are really has to go with a lot of things that happen. For example, I know why everything just went like that around October and November. It's called election. And I do think that while we were waiting to see who was going to wind up becoming part of the discussion as newly elected legislators or re-elected legislators, then everything just went, went on pause. So I think that's, again, part of the issue. I think I'd like to see us do a 3-year discussion that begins and ends with the current term of this current legislature. In other words, a budget for 23, 24, and 25, that we say, okay, each year, this is what's going to happen. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I haven't talked about this to any of the board or anybody else, our board
Right,
here.
because I do not vote on this.
Yeah, and I understand.
Yeah.
But I do also understand that you are the agent of the board and you are the person that we have to talk to. So we're just passing that to you for the legislators' consideration, that this is like a business. I can't understand why we do the worst thing in the world with our county board elections, and you wouldn't stand for that in a regular business. It's a multi-million-dollar corporation, and we could stand to change all 7 members of the board of directors. I mean, Prudential would never do that. Met would never do that. And certainly Community Bank would never do that. So it's what we have to work with, and I think we can make it work. But I would be very happy to have whatever assistance you need from us. I would be very happy to poll the board and make sure that we have somebody to sit down and talk to you guys as partners. But we don't, I can't, it's outside of our chain of command to start talking to 7 legislators. Our chain of command is to you. And that's, I'm glad we had a chance to open this up a little bit. That's good. Thank you.
And we had when we had a discussion back in November, and the idea of our monitoring, what the county economic development committee was doing and inviting county officials to monitor what we're doing. That all came from the idea that, we have an EDA funded comprehensive economic development plan that the EDC was instrumental in getting written and formed, but it was adopted by the legislature. So we really are right at the root. We are partners in the economic development of the county.
Right.
And we have a stake in it. The county has a stake in it through, that agreed upon plan, which lays out our development priorities throughout the county. And
Is that the one we shared the payment of?
that's that
Was that
that was
the
the
update?
one.
Was that the update that we shared?
I think it's done about every 10 years, I believe, right? And that was the last time, Maria, was it updated in
2016.
2016?
Yeah. And I believe the Empire Zone paid the cost for that report or study.
Okay. So, our partnership kind of is, that's rooted in that document. And that really, every year when we do
Yeah,
our own,
that was after
Yes,
the
we did,
census.
and we shared the cost.
when we do
We
our
hired
own-
a company in Montreal, remember, to also
right,
do some work on our behalf, and I believe we split the cost on that.
good. And what we
Yeah.
do every year when we're trying to figure out what our strategic priorities are, we always kind of tie it into that. So,
Yeah,
so knowing what, as far as who's the customer, it's like, I think it's right about the people of the county or the customer.
the
And we both have a role in satisfying and trying to meet the goals that we're trying to achieve for the residents. And our what we resolved to do back in November was to start getting a better handle on very specific priorities that the county had, through its Economic Development Committee, and there's been an effort to move forward with that and to be attending those meetings, and Jeremy's been close in. I missed the last meeting, I think, because I had a conflict. But, we're gonna be at those sessions. So we're gonna try to figure out, we need to figure out what your key objectives are and how we can advance those through a service program. And we want you to be aware of where we're going through our programs overall, what we're seeing as our strategic priorities. So it's all about communication,
When,
if I have that right.
when we in December, we had a meeting together and most of the board was able to attend.
And that's when
Right?
I called in I was away.
Yes, you did.
I was on the road.
And one of the things that legislator Ellis had talked to me about in preparing for that meeting, and I think this gets to Donna's question, which was a good one it's a philosophical question, is who the customer is.
Right.
And I think Lindy gave me a good perspective on it. And I guess I look at it two ways. One is we're all working for the people of Franklin County, and we have a lot of shared goals in that regard,
Right.
right? And that was played out when we had our meeting, and she asked every legislator what they thought some of the priorities were in their own minds, and most of them aligned with things we were already, like things related to Main Street revitalization,
Broadband.
addressing housing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then I think that's pretty easy, but there's also those priorities that the legislature might have for specific projects that we might be able to assist with more directly and specifically. And Donna's example of the land bank is a perfect example of that, where the legislature determined that it's been around for a while, but in 2022, they determined we want this as a priority.
Well, we're
So-
investing $500,000.
That's right.
Which is a pretty,
Yeah.
pretty big priority,
Oh,
right?
yes, it is.
So Donna got the team together, and on the legislator's behalf, we got it done. So it was a very specific request for our help and she had the team together, and we were happy to do it because it meets a lot of related goals. Another one, but that's in the past. So
But that was successful. How that
Yeah.
got managed was successful. And
Right.
so we need to look at that, right?
right, there's a very specific example that we can look to. The micro enterprise grant program is another one of those, like for 2023, that is on our radar. That is something specific that has been brought up repeatedly that the county has as a priority because it is a way to get funding assistance to our smallest businesses. So that's something very specific that we can identify that it is to benefit the people of Franklin County, but it's also a specific project that the county has identified. So,
Right, and let me just, we look at you to execute those projects. We feel it's in your wheelhouse. I do not have a team with capacity to apply for those grants. And it is in the best interest of Franklin County and our business owners to be able to get that. So when we contract that, because not only the money you're hoping to get for a 3-year contract, there's also a significant revenue for you on that. There's significant, the CARES Act brought you $65,000 extra above and beyond that you're executing on behalf of Franklin County. That CARES Act grant is a Franklin County grant. And, we don't take the 65,000. I think we're budgeted for 5,000 of the total that, because of all the work that we do quite a bit of work. So, I just, because we value that and the relationship and the work that we've done, and we've learned a lot as we've gone along. It would, it only makes sense to continue to do this. That's significant additional revenue for your organization, and that we can put someplace else, or you can put someplace else. So, from micro enterprise to CARES Act, that's all really, really good stuff. And then, as I said, then it generates additional funding as well for you.
And I think the third one, well, not for 2023, another one that's been previously identified, and we've already talked about this, is efforts related to broadband expansion, which has been a continued priority for the legislature, and obviously has all sorts of benefits.
Right.
So
It has
it's
a lot of
something-
benefits, but again, my office does not have the workforce. And I will tell you, I'm extremely busy with the broadband work that's being done. And so when I say customer, that's what I look at, is what can we pass on to, this agency to really take the lead on that, because it is a lot of work, and I spend hours a week on broadband. And so when I mention customer, yes, ultimately this is for the benefit of the Franklin County residents. It's basically, though, can we contract this work out as part of the money we're allocating,
Right.
and have the lead be done by Jeremy, Russ, whoever. Does
So it
that make
sounds-
sense? Am I articulating that well? So
Yes.
that's what I meant when I talked about who's the customer. If I could do it and I had time to do it, then I wouldn't need to contract anything out, right? But I don't have the time, or some of the expertise. I oversee all the departments, but I don't know how to pave a road.
Right. So
But
the
I know-
customer, we're both working through the provisions of the EDC of the overall economic development plan, right? For the people of Franklin County. However,
Yeah.
in this, the way I see it, the customer is Franklin County, because they're contracting with us for services that it does not have the capacity to do directly. So it sounds like we get, we're talking, we're monitoring each other, and ultimately, it seems like we should be putting some things down on paper in an MOU or something which says, here are the county's top priorities that we need help on. And within that, we may be talking about some specific work items or an overall program area, the program thrust of the county wants to
Right.
see. And for that MOU, there's a certain amount of money agreed upon that comes to the EDC in a contract. But a memorandum of agreement, memorandum of understanding, however specific that ends up
Right.
being, seems to be something that makes a lot of sense to create, with the parties to that being, yourself, Donna, as county manager, but also the Economic Development Committee and the County Economic Development Committee, and as the agent of the legislature, and the Economic Development Corporation here.
Yeah. So
I really want you to understand, Donna, I feel very comfortable working with you, because I think you have a grasp as to what we do, and we both appreciate what each other is trying to do together. And I think that's the strength of what hopefully we're going to arrive at, and I have every good reason to believe that's what's going to happen. And if there's any need, and I offer it, if there's any need for us to be more, more in contact with you and members of the board as you see it, then we're a phone call away. Give us a call. In fact, we may even think about making it a little bit more formalized by probably meeting at least quarterly with representatives of this board, with you and maybe with members of the county's legislative, or the county's economic development.
Oh, the next steps, I believe there's discussion being had at the legislative level. I've been invited to a meeting and discuss the contract. So
Good.
that this week.
That is Thursday, the meeting of the legislature?
No, it's next week.
The Economic Development Committee is next week?
No, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. The legislative meeting is the 16th.
Okay, okay.
We're
Good.
having an executive session meeting
I see, okay, thank you.
tomorrow.
Good, that's positive.
Very good.
That's good.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
That's great. This is, it feels like we're making some good steps after our discussions in November. I'm glad for that. Thanks.
Yep. Phil.
Where are we, Jeremy?
That's it. That's my report.
Well, Donna, is there anything else you would like to share with us, or you want us to share with you?
Yeah, so the lease has expired. September 30th. I had brought it to Jeremy's attention months ago and we are really very tight. We've hired a grant writer. She's basically in a closet right now. And I had mentioned to Jeremy, we're very strapped for space. And I know that this space is, there's not a workforce that is here on a regular basis. And so I wondered if there could be consideration for a different space on the third floor that is, I showed it to you, Jeremy, that would be basically, you wanted to set up like the carry. It's certainly not as big as the carry, but sometimes there's one person here. And sometimes, and it goes days with nobody here. So I just wondered if there could be some consideration about that. Because, I don't think it makes sense that we go out and rent space and I understand your reluctance. We are charging $1 a year. But
Price is right.
Yeah, price is right.
and so I do want to point that out, though, that also is the county contributing to the IDA LDC, Franklin County Economic Development Corporation. I'm going to be 62 this month, and changing names is hard for me, that I've known for years, so I run through them all.
Great.
So I just am hoping there can be some discussion about that. Are you open to something different? We would like our county attorney on the 4th floor, access to the legislators in my office. So is that something?
So one of the things I was waiting for, which took us a little bit longer than I was hoping for, was just to take this discussion to the appropriate committee. And now we have them, because you said them last week.
Yes.
And talk in a little bit more detail about it.
We could give you a decision certainly I think we should be able to give you a decision by our next regular board meeting.
By the end of the month, yeah.
And what's the timing again? You want this space as soon as you can, is that what
We
you're
would
saying?
like a space as soon as we can. Yeah.
Okay,
Well, we have in the past gotten the committee report, Donna, and then we sent out to members of the board at large what the committee recommendation was, basically like a fishing expedition to find out that everybody sounds like, well, that sounds great. So we could get started as soon as the committee comes back with the recommendation.
Which committee would that be, Jim?
That's our Economic Development Committee, Steve Berman's committee. Madeline, that's the group that's doing infrastructure.
Okay, all right, just wondering, I wasn't sure.
so we're gonna set up a meeting quickly.
Do you think it's a strong possibility, though, that whether it's in another space here, we can
I'll-
come to an agreement.
just say, I can share pictures and stuff with the committee, but I've been struggling to figure out, I mean, yeah, we don't use it every day, but we have people there 3 days a week
Yeah.
or so on
Sure.
average. And for some of the things that we do need to be able to do, it would be problematic. But what is available? Like having this meeting that we're having right now.
You know, we have a conference room in the current space that you guys are all in. You know.
But I
and-
offered you a conference room, Jeremy, across
And
the
that's
hall
what-
from your
that's-
office space.
That's what I was gonna ask, if there's a possibility of using a conference
than
space
that.
periodically.
It would
It's on
be,
the
So we have,
floor.
so
It's,
it's shared space.
okay, so we have place to put
Room is
staff.
here. It's the
staff that
room where
have no
the
desks and-
bullpen you can
Define
call it.
Okay.
So then there's a
Yeah.
hall, and office for the aging is
You don't
here, so
mind-
it's kind of a hall.
Is that all petitioned off now?
The grand jury room.
Talk to you.
No, it's wide open.
Is it?
That's not the space I'm offering.
Oh,
Donna,
Yes,
Donna, we're gonna have a
where the
committee.
assigned
meeting.
council used to be?
what's
We're gonna have
that?
a committee meeting on it. What I wanna
Okay.
do is get briefed by Jeremy about what he's seen. And Nate is on this committee along with Jim, and we will pull this discussion together fairly quickly.
I
And,
appreciate
and then we
it.
can give a response, because right now we're kind of, as board members, I think we're flying a little bit blind on this, and we need to catch up.
Okay.
And
So
we'll do that quickly.
okay, thank you very much. I'd appreciate it.
Can I ask,
Of course.
what is it the same cost and all that?
I mean, we charge $1 and then
Okay,
some.
well, I just didn't know, I just
Yeah.
wanted to ask.
It's a smaller space,
I
we
know,
make it to 75
Actually, I
cents.
paid $1 personally just to get get it going one time and I'm like,
Is
you
it
know,
across from the old bullpen?
so I could take you down.
Where the assigned council used to
So
be?
I don't know where that
Or
was. It
public
must have been
defender?
before my time. So Office for the Aging is here and the grand jury, well, the bullpen is here and then there's a hall. Right? And on the left, there's an office space that our county attorney is in. And there's a little room in the front that we could take the wall out. And across from there is a conference room that Office for the Aging uses sometimes to meet with people. And sometimes our auditor meets there, but we would just assign it out, right? And share it. And clean it out and get it
Roger
ready
won't
for
be
you.
upset.
No, actually, Roger's good. He likes to be right there in that treasurer's
Oh, I
office,
know
you
it, I know
so we couldn't get him in that room much. Yeah,
Well,
All right.
we're gonna get back to you with all due haste.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
And again, thank you for being here at the meeting today. We really appreciate it, Donna.
Good. Glad I could make it.
Well, you're always welcome.
It's good. Thanks, Donna.
We have a public comment. Any further public comment? There being none, then our next meeting is March 15th. And I guess we can accept the motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Second by
A
Steve.
second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. The ayes have it.
Nate,